We are about at the end of our study in review of algebra. Today we're going to be working on some coordinate geometry, and then that's going to pretty much wrap up what we're doing in the first section of our study together. We've got to then review and have a test on the first part. Then the second part of our course will be going into a little bit of a study on statistics. So I want to get things organized here a little bit. Okay, so to kind of wrap this up here, coordinate geometry. We are going to talk about slopes of lines. We're going to talk about graphing lines. Whether you take statistics, pre-calculus, whatever course you take to get your analytical thought credits, you're going to run into graphs and slopes and equations of lines and whatnot, okay? So let's talk about this. Now, it's a little tricky here because when I produced this, the blocks on my grid work did not come out very clearly here, but I think we can walk our way through this. This was intended to be up one and over one, up one and over one, up one and over one, because slope is simply rise over run. Okay? Now, when you go up one, going up one is in a positive direction. Up is positive, down is negative. Okay? So up one would be a rise of one, like this, and then you go to the right one. Okay? Going to the right is a positive direction, going to the left is negative, just like your numbers. Okay? So this is up one and over one, which is just a slope of one. Okay? Notice also as you read from left to right, you see how this line goes up? It goes up a positive direction. Okay? How about this red line? All right, if you think about rise, I can rise whatever I want here. I can rise one, I can rise two, I can rise three. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be rising whatever I want, but there's no run at all. I don't go to the left or right at all. So if you do the slope of this line, you have a rise on the top, but you have zero run. And what about, suppose I say I'm going to go up 2 and go nowhere. If I go up 2 and run nothing, right? What is 2 divided by 0? If you try to take 0 into 2, if you try to take 0 into 2, what are you going to put up there? Whatever you put up there in the top, you need to take times 0 to get 2, and you can't do that. No matter what you take times 0 is 0. It's never 2. So you cannot divide a number by 0, so the red line has no slope whatsoever. This one had a positive slope. This one has no slope at all. Okay? Now this one was supposed to be down 1 and over 2. Down 1 and over 2. Let's talk about the slope in this one. If you go down 1, that is a rise of -1. And then if you go to the right 2, going to the right 2, is it not a positive 2? So the slope of that one is -1/2. Okay? Now, I know somebody's probably sitting there saying, well, I would never have figured that out. I would have probably picked the wrong points, or I'd have gone the wrong way. Like I would have started here. I would have gone up 2 and then back 4. Well, going up 2 is a positive 2. Back to the left 4 is a -4, and that's still -1/2. Okay? As long as you count very carefully on your grid, You cannot mess this up. It's impossible. All right. How about the green line over there? On the green line, do you see how we can run whatever number you want, but you never rise or fall. You stay right there. So if you run whatever you want, say I run 2. Say I start here and I go 1, 2, but I didn't rise at all. There's no rise, 0 rise. 0 divided by 2, anything into 0 is still 0. So you get 0 for that slope. So let's just kind of summarize here. This is a positive slope. This is no slope at all. This slope turned out to be -1/2. Going down as you read from left to right, it's negative, and that's 0 slope. There's an easy way to remember this. Think about riding a bike. When you're riding a bike, you're going up a hill. When you're riding a bike, you're going down a hill, negative. When you're riding a bike, it's level ground. There are 0 hills. And when you're riding a bike, that's impossible. You can't ride up a vertical slope, okay? So think about riding bikes. Now, let's talk about another way to do slope. When you do the rise, the y values change. When you do the rise, the x values don't change at all. But when you do the run, the x values change. So another way to do slope is delta y over delta x. Delta is a Greek letter that mathematicians use to write change in. So we want the change in the y values over the change in the x values. Okay, that's the same as rise over run. For instance, down here in these problems, I have -2, 5, and 6, 8. Those are 2 points. -2, I'm back 2 and I'm up 5. 6, 8, I'm over 6 and I'm up 8. Okay? I want to know what is the slope. Okay? Now, you can plot those points and you can count blocks if you want to. Okay? I don't care. You can, and let me see if I can just do this. Here a second. Hold on. Okay, if I get a piece of graph paper for this problem, get a piece of graph paper, and I am going to, here's the x-axis, here's the y-axis, okay? I'm going to plot these points. -2 is back 2 and up 5, okay? +6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and up 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's the 2 points. I want to know the slope. Okay, you can plot the points and you can count blocks. I don't care. If you want to use this, that's fine. I should have probably moved it over here a little bit, but that's okay. Rise over run is up 3 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I am up 3 and over 8. Yep, so I'm up 3 and I'm over 8. Both of them are positive distances. Up 3 and over 8. I think the slope ought to be 3/8. Okay? But you don't have to graph it. You can use this and do delta y over delta x. Watch. Subtract the y values. 5 minus 8. Subtract the x values. -2 minus 6. Right? 5 minus 8. Subtract, give it the sign the biggest. -3. A -2 and a -6. 2 negatives, you have a bigger debt. That's -8. The negatives, 2 negatives kill each other, and you still get 3/8. You do not have to do it either way. You can pick however you want to do this. Okay? Now I just lost it. Oh, there we are. Let's get back to where we were. Okay, here's where we are. Now I lost it again. Well, I'm not sure what I did, but I did something. There we go. Okay, so let's find the slopes of all the lines going through these points, okay? How about the next one? Now, I don't want to graph this one. Look at that. Back 3 and up 55. Who in their right mind wants to count up 55 blocks? That's crazy. Let's do delta y over delta x. I'm going to subtract the y values. 7 minus 55. See what I'm doing? Subtract the x values. -3 minus a -3. Okay? 7 minus 55. Subtract, get it assigned the biggest, -48. -3, kill those two negatives. That's 0. You cannot divide by 0. No slope. By the way, I should have known that. If you go back 3 and up 7 and back 3 and up 55, isn't that a vertical line? I could have saved myself some work, right? Go to the next one. Subtract the y values. -4 minus 7. Okay? Subtract the x values. 5 minus -6. Now, I don't even care how you subtract. I just went from left to right. -4 minus 7, 5 minus -6. You can go backwards if you want. 7 minus -4, -6 minus 5. Doesn't matter. All right, two negatives make a bigger debt. -11. Kill the negatives. That's a +11. Slope, -1. How about the last one? Let's do delta y over delta x so we don't have to graph it. Okay, and by the way, the last one, spoiler alert here, you shouldn't have to do any work on that one. Subtract the y values. -5 minus -5. Subtract the x, 12 minus -4. Kill the negatives, I get 0 on the top. Kill the negatives, I get 16 on the bottom. Anything into 0 is 0. 0 slope, it's a horizontal line, which you should have known. Go to the 12 and down 5, go to -4 and down 5, you're down 5 on both. It is a horizontal line, okay? Which of the lines in problem 2 go up, down, neither as you read from left to right? Now, this first one was 3/8, so I know it goes up. This is the one that was vertical, so I know that there's no slope on that one. This one, I forget, was, I think it was -1, wasn't it? Yeah, so this one goes down, and that one's 0 because it was horizontal, okay? All right. Now let's talk about graphing. Now, I've included graph paper here. You'll have graph paper to work these out, okay? And I will do the best to just go through and show you the ways you ought to do these problems. I want you to graph these by making an XY table, okay? So let's get started. The first one, y is equal to 2x minus 1. We're going to make an XY table. I usually always use 0, 1, and 2. You can use whatever numbers you want for x. Now you put 0 in for x. 2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 1 is a -1, right? You put 1 in for x. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus 1 is 1. You put 2 in for x. 2 times 2 is 4. Minus 1 is 3. We need to plot points. So I have 0 and down 1. I have over 1 and up 1. I have over 2 and up 3. And you can see there is the line going up through those 3 points. This is a problem. Y equals 2x minus 1. This problem has millions and millions and millions of answers. Any point on this line will make that equation true, okay? Any point on that line will make that true, and there's millions of points. Let's do this one. This is 1/2 x minus y is 4. Okay? Make a table. Now, I'm going to use 0. 0 times anything is 0. Negative y equals 4. Divide by a negative, so y is minus 4. I'm not going to use 1 because that's going to give me a fraction. I'll use 2. Half of x, half of 2 is 1. 1 minus y is 4. If you add the y over and subtract 4, you should get negative 3. Let's do it again. If x is 2, half of 2 is 1. Add the y to this side, make it a positive y, subtract 4 from 1, I get negative 3. Right there. Okay? I don't want to use 3 because I'll get a fraction. How about I use 4? Half of 4 is 2. Add the y over, subtract 4 from 2 is negative 2. Plot the points. 0 and down 4. 2 and down 3. 4 and down 2. You can see this line is going like that. Okay? Any point on that line will make that true. Any point that makes that true then has to be on that line. And there are millions and millions of points that do that. X equals 3. Well, that's easy. X equals 3. It could be 3, 0, could be 3, 1, could be 3, 2. As long as the x value is 3, you get a vertical line going through 3. How about the last one? Y equals negative 2. Y equals negative 2. I don't care what you do as long as the y value is always down 2. You could be at 0 and down 2, 1 and down 2, 2 and down 2. Here it is. Horizontal line for y equals negative 2. Okay? Now let's look at these. Let's make a table. Now, because they have an exponent of 2, you know you're going to get a parabola, a nice smooth curve. Okay, so let's try 0, 1, and 2. And see if we'll probably have to use some more points, but we'll try those just to get started. If x is 0, 0 squared is 0. 4 minus 0 is 4. If x is 1, let the negative out of it, just square the 1. 1 squared is 1, 4 minus 1 is 3. If x is 2, 2 squared is 4, 4 minus 4 is 0. Okay? So I have okay, so I have 0 and up 4. I have 1 and up 3. I have 2 and 0. Okay? Now, when I look at that, I'm trying to think. It's supposed to be a curve. So I think I better use a couple more positives. How about 3? 3 squared is 9. 4 minus 9 is negative 5. Well, that didn't work out very well. 3 and down 5. So I'm way down here. Oh, now I think I see it. I think it's going to come up like this, huh? So I better use a couple negatives. Negative 1, negative 2. Now be careful. Square the negative 1 is 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. Square the negative 2 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So negative 1 goes up to 3 and negative 2 goes to 0. I didn't really need that point. Here is your nice, smooth parabola. And it'll eventually go down and hit that one. Okay, so use 0, 1, and 2, then try to figure out which direction you ought to go to. All right, let's do this one. Once again, I'll use 0, 1, and 2. 0 minus 4, yikes, is negative 4 squared is 16, okay? 1 minus 4 is negative 3 squared is 9. 2 minus 4 is negative 2 squared is 4. Yikes, 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 yikes. Let's try 3 and 4. 3 minus 4 is negative 1 squared is 1. 4 minus 4 is 0 squared is 0. So I'm going to forget the first two because the numbers are so big. Over 2 and up 4, there's 1 point. Over 3 and up 1. Over 4 and 0. I can see it curling. Can you see it curving here? Let's do 5 and 6. When I put 5 in, 5 minus 4 is 1, squared is 1. 6 minus 4 is 2, squared is 4. So 5 goes to 1 right here, and 6 goes to 4. You can see the parabola, nice smooth curve, looks like that. Okay, how about the last one? 1/2 x squared. Let's make a chart. 0, 1, and 2. First we square it. 0 times 1/2 is 0. 1 squared is 1 times 1/2 is 1/2. 2 squared is 4 times 1/2 is 2. 0 goes to 0. 1 goes to just 1/2. And 2 goes to 2. Can you see it curling? So I need to use some negatives. Let's do negative 1 and negative 2. Negative 1 squared is a positive 1 times 1/2 is 1/2. Negative 2 squared is a positive 4 times 1/2 is 2. So negative 1 goes to 1/2 and negative 2 goes to 2. You can see it. There it is. Your parabola, okay? So you should be able to graph parabolas and straight lines. And our last problems, what about absolute values that we haven't talked about much since our very first day of class, okay? All right. All right, same thing. Let's make an XY chart, 0, 1, and 2. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. The absolute value is the distance from 0. Negative 2 is 2 units away from 0. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. The absolute value is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. Absolute value is 0. 0 and up 2. 1 and up 1. 2 and 0. Straight line. Let's try 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. The absolute value is 1. 3 also goes to 1. Now you might think that it's a parabola, but it's not. Absolute values do not curve. They're straight lines. The absolute value comes down like this and goes in a straight line that way. Okay? Let's do this one. 0, 1, and 2. Absolute value 0 is 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Absolute value of 1 is 1 minus 3, negative 2. Absolute value of 2 is 2. You guys able to see those? Yeah, pretty close. 2 minus 3 is minus 1. So I have 0 and down 3. I have 1 and down 2. I have 2 and down 1. Yikes. Now I wonder which way to go. Let's try a couple negatives. How about negative 1? Absolute value of negative 1 is 1. Minus 3 is negative 2. Negative 1 and down 2, and there it is. You can see that problem looks like that. You're going to have straight lines. You're going to have parabolas, nice smooth curves, and you're going to have these absolute values. This is the opposite of the absolute value, plus 2. Let's try another -1. I think that's going to be the best way to do it. Absolute value of 0 is 0. Opposite of 0 is 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. Absolute value of 1 is 1. Opposite is -1 plus 2 is 1. Absolute value of 2 is 2. Opposite, -2 plus 2 is 0. Absolute value of -1 is 1. Opposite, -1 plus 2 is 1. So let's plot it. 0 and up 2. Put an X there. 1 and 1, just like that one. 2 and 0, just like that one. But then -1 goes to 1. Can you see it? This one comes up through like this. It's upside down. It's the dotted lines, okay? So you've got straight lines, you've got parabolas, you've got absolute values, and you're going to find slopes today.